Happy Sunday, Tampa Bay. We're with you for another week to talk about the Tampa Bay real estate market here on the Duncan Duo Show, joined by Mike Yates with Atlantic Bay Mortgage, Robert Johnson, the president of the Duncan Duo real estate team, and Aaron Davis with Florida Agency Network and Hillsborough Title, and Strategic Title, of course, as well, which is a venture we have with Aaron and our title company. And I want to start today, Aaron. You've been doing some public speaking and talking to a lot of people about cryptocurrency, and there's people out there listening. And this isn't just Bitcoin, but obviously it's been the leading cryptocurrency that's kind of pushed things along. And moving into the real estate space, it's obviously new ground, similar to you guys with the e-closings. You guys kind of being on the cutting edge, beating people to the punch in terms of the title realm. What do listeners need to know, or what do they need to be prepared about as cryptocurrency becomes more common, and then secondly, as it starts to incorporate itself into real estate transactions more often?
Yeah, so it's been really intriguing to kind of follow this over the course of the last year. Of course, with all the cryptocurrencies and the run up in values from like November, December, January, and then now, of course, it's come back down quite a bit. But what happened during that period of time is there were like this slew of Bitcoin millionaires overnight.
Right.
So all of a sudden,
50 Cent was one of them.
Yeah,
you saw that.
That's right.
He had some in a shoebox or something. Forgot about it, but he sold some albums through Bitcoin.
I thought it was fake.
That never happens
that.
to me.
Yeah, you didn't get lucky.
We
didn't
live
have that.
like
Just sent in a
so
shoebox.
I've been doing these classes and all these speaking engagements on blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies and how that affects real estate. And as you do these classes, people come out of the woodworks to come and talk to you and share their story. And you meet a guy whose buddy was an online poker player and was playing in a overseas tournament online and won 1,000 Bitcoin 5 years ago when there's no one knew what it was, and all of a sudden he held on to it. And now he's got $50 million overnight.
Right.
So now all of a sudden you've got all these buyers. Every once in a while I'll get a phone call. I'm probably averaging like one a week right now. Like, hey, I've got a buyer. They're looking at a $5 million beachfront property, but they have cryptocurrency. How do we handle this? And now all of a sudden you're getting it on the sell side. Like, and this was recently in the paper was Paris Hilton's dad, Rick Hilton, is selling his $42 million mansion in Europe in a cryptocurrency auction.
That's awesome.
And so there's a company out there called Profi.com, and they are, essentially looking to attract those cryptocurrency buyers and sellers onto their platform and handle a closing in that way. So it's been really fun actually to kind of tear apart the closing process and title and escrow because you've got someone who wants to buy with Bitcoin. And then you've got a seller who says, "Nope, I want U.S. dollars.
Money.
I want money. I want." So there's a liquidation.
How you get there? Yeah.
That's right. There's a liquidation process. Some of what you find is some of these buyers are very emotionally attached to their cryptocurrencies.
It's different, yeah.
It is.
It's like it's like selling, it's like buying with collectible coins or baseball
But
cards.
wouldn't it be the same as buying or selling something with a stock? I mean, isn't it kind of the same thing?
It is, but what's happening is so these guys, I think they feel that they flew under the radar for a while from really the IRS.
Sure.
So go back to the guy who had 1,000 Bitcoin 5 years ago, and now it's worth $50 million. The minute he sells, there's a taxable event. That's right, 30% or whatever it is goes straight to the IRS. So I think there was a period of time was like, well, we don't want to sell, we don't want to pay the taxes on it. So prior to December 31 of this year, cryptocurrencies were still a digital asset and not a currency. They're still not a currency yet. However, you'll see Apple Cash takes Bitcoin now. Venmo, a lot of these payment processing companies are in
starting
crypto.
to take it, right?
So there was a company out here that said, well, because it's a digital asset, we can now do a 1031 exchange. Digital asset so there was a company doing 1031 exchanges
for Bitcoin and
Bitcoin
property.
to commercial real estate
And not paying taxes.
Wow. It was, and also the
So
IRS found out
that's
shut it down.
yeah, they shut it down. That's gone. So if you're out there listening, sorry, it's over.
That's right.
But
it's
you
just
needed to do that a few months ago.
Exactly, but it's intriguing. You hear all of these stories coming out, and people really are looking at how does the technology change what we do, and so there's a huge push in blockchain, that blockchain will allow you to have that more instantaneous closing because of the technology. So the crypto world, the cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, all of those things, they have a function. They are real. People are making money at doing it. But there's actually the underlying technology is changing the way business is done with payment processing.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the most innovative thing coming out of it, and then obviously people that have the theorists that don't love having the money tied to a specific government and what happens, so there's certainly a lot of validity to it. It's been interesting to see, the discussion and it's obviously very rare. It's not as if you're having, gobs and gobs of closings with it yet. But I think it's funny because it seems like at least once a week I see a realtor posting something on Facebook. We accept Bitcoin. It's like there's really like 3 people in Tampa that are going to buy a house with Bitcoin. I mean, at this point, and they're likely the really high-end, high net worth because that's the purpose for it.
Sure.
Not to say that it doesn't happen, but there's not been a lot of them yet.
No. And so what's interesting is it does seem to be a big publicity play right now. So Seminole County tax collector just came out as the first tax collector in the country to accept Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash for payment of your property taxes and also payment for your license renewals.
Wow.
So it's
getting there.
No, it's convert. So, but all they're doing, just let me know, they are selling the position and then converting it to cash.
Yeah,
That's right.
Exactly.
So, I'm interested to see how it's going to work with the people that need to finance. For
and
instance.
then they're putting their down payment in Bitcoin.
Right. Well, I had someone call me. It was probably at some point last year. He said that he had some Bitcoin and he wanted to use that for his down payment. To which my first question was, how are we going to do that?
How much? Right.
Because we have to source the liquidation, and there's no way to source it.
Right.
There's no paper trail for Bitcoin. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes in the future in the mortgage world as well.
And I think as more cryptocurrencies pop up, more competitors, there's always things that are going to change. I think the interesting thing is just how it kind of forces change and innovation, and I think that's the theme of real estate right now. You've got a lot of disruption. You've got a lot of new companies changing the game. We've talked about e-closings with you before, and that's something you guys are on the front end of, and that's powerful for real estate closings. Look, let's face it, buyers and sellers don't love sitting in the same room together a lot of the time. Certainly some, there's an emotional connection, but sometimes it's adversarial. They don't want to sit in there. And Robert, I know you could probably speak to this too. I mean, we've got countless stories where buyers and sellers are at each other's throat at the closing table.
Oh yeah, I feel like it happens a lot less now because, like you said,
separated.
Most of the time they're separated, especially because of a lot of the financing requirements now. But I mean, yes, I have been in some very contentious closings in the past. It's always a treat.
It's always economy based, So when you're looking at the 08 to 2010 short sale, foreclosure, crying at the table, bringing in cash. Yeah, no one's happy that they're selling their home.
Correct.
Versus now, it's like, great, I'm selling my home, I'm making all this money, and the buyers are getting home. So it's besides like the divorce effect or something.
It's not as bad.
I will say, like, you do have a lot less sellers that feel like the buyer's getting one over on them, like they did.
But now it's
so
more
long.
The other side. The buyer feels like, oh, I overpaid.
Right.
It's a big war.
Correct.
It went up above asking price. They had to pay over appraisal, and they're bitter about it. And it's funny. Like it seems like we talk about our reviews a lot, and how many we have the most 5-star reviews out of any real estate agent in Florida, and we're really proud of that. It seems like the majority of our negative reviews are from the buyers that didn't get our listing. They didn't get their offer accepted, or the buyer that did get the listing and wasn't happy that they didn't get the deal they wanted because we were better negotiators and we did a better job for our customer. But that's what happens in the market. It shifts. It's more on the seller side of things now versus the other side being unhappy. Now it's more buyers versus sellers feeling that they're taking the brunt of it, and they probably are. But the e-closings obviously can take some of the stress out of that. It makes it you go to the house. It's cleaner. It's simple. You don't have to worry about driving somewhere. There's just so much technology that's moving into real estate that's making some of those processes that have been archaic in the past more streamlined.
Yeah, so we have one right now, and it's not going to replace the traditional, right? I mean, people still want to come in, they still want to have that experience, but it's an option, so we've got a buyer who's in California, whose travel plans change. He was planning on being here physically for the closing. Now he wants to, he's gonna stay put, and we're like, great, you know what? We can do an online notarization for you. We can do an e-closing for you. And he's like, wow, that's great.
Yeah.
I don't really have time to go down and find
Sure.
a notary or wait for an appointment. I can just sign it out at night on my iPad.
Right, and that's super convenient. So, and you guys have obviously been on the cutting edge of that. I've seen you guys doing them. We're aware of it. We've worked with you guys on that stuff, and